I'm on Philpot Lane in the City of London, just around the corner from Monument Tube Station. And just above me is what is said to be the smallest sculpture in the City of London. It is of two mice eating a piece of cheese. There is a story attached to this sculpture though. And the story that you will often hear from every tour guide and taxi driver who ever comes down this street is as thus. During the construction of this building in the 1860s, two men got into a fight after one accused the other of stealing his lunch. During the fight, one of the two men fell to his death. Afterwards, it was found two mice had stolen lunch and were seen eating it. When the building was completed, it was decided to add a little sculpture of two mice in memory of the dead man. I am actually, I'm afraid, almost, sorry to say this, going to debunk the story, but I think there's something much more interesting going on. But first, debunking time. Firstly, even in Victorian times, when health and safety was seen as a rather unaffordable luxury, if someone died on a building site, it would have been reported in the local newspapers. Considering the nature of the incident here, with two men fighting and one man dying, it would have involved a police report, coroner's report, almost certainly a court hearing. I can't find any evidence of any of this happening. It is not, as the old adage says, an absence of evidence is evidence of absence, to say it definitely did not happen. It does seem unusual though that all the usual places where you would find a record of someone dying on a building site make no mention of it. A final nail in this particular coffin is that when this building was constructed, it was one of the earliest of its style. Today this is a classic Victorian building, very richly decorated, polychromatic brickwork, but in the 1860s it was one of the first. And therefore it gets a review in the Builder magazine, and they go into a great deal of detail about the decoration. They make no mention of the mice. If this was a memorial to dead people, even the Builder magazine, which was a very dry and fussy publication, would have said there is a memorial to someone who died here. It's also a very unusual monument to someone who died. Even today, if someone had died on a site, we would have a bronze or a brass plaque with the name of the deceased, not a sculpture of two mice. So, all things told, I don't think the story is entirely true. What matters though is not whether the story is true or not, or the facts behind it. It's the fact the story exists. Someone, somewhere, at some point, has come up with this story. Maybe they told it to a friend who was rather credulous, who then went on to tell their friends, and it got passed on through the generations. Because this story has been around for a long time. The earliest written record I can find, certainly, is from 1975, when someone wrote into the Daily Mirror newspaper and asked, what are those sculptures for? And they repeated the story that I've just told you. They also repeated a rather less well-known story, that the two mice were pets, but that has hardly ever been reported since. So the story's been around for a long time, and for generations Londoners have walked down the street and they have pointed to those two mice and they have told the story. And it's the fact that people share the story is so important. It has become part of the great mythic legends of London, the ravens of the Tower, Gog and Magog, the Boudicca's fire, the London Stone. They are all part of our collective cultural history, and two tiny little mice eating a piece of cheese have joined that great pantheon. And that's why it's so important to share the stories. Those mice are very small. Their fur fades over time as the paintwork wears off. It would be so simple and so easy for a painter decorator one year to just come along and whitewash all over it, thinking it's not been that important. But because people share the story, the mice are preserved. This building was painted recently, just a couple of years ago, and because of the story, when they repainted this building, they didn't just whitewash over it. The mice were given a nice shiny new coat of fur. The cheese is nice and tasty, and all because people tell the story of the Philpot Lane mice. I think that's going to do.